Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM. Which
about that along the way. We're here right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM. And let me start by wishing a Happy New Year to my co-host, Mr. Paul Domowitch. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year to you, too.
Thank you, buddy. And our producer, Gus Barber. We wish Gus Happy New Year, even though his Michigan Wolverines won last night. I'm an Ohio State fan, but we'll get into that later. Our guest is a true Philadelphia local. You talk about Philly. His first name is Gerry, but it should be Philly. He grew up in Delaware County, played high school in Delaware County, went to Syracuse, played for the Eagles and the Chiefs in a 6-year NFL career, was one of the plaintiffs, the original plaintiffs in the NFL's concussion lawsuit. We'll talk about that, but he's got some opinions on his Eagles and the NFL. We welcome Mr. Gerry Feehery. How are you, buddy?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Happy New Year.
It's great to be here. Happy New Year to you, too.
Your whole family is here, which is terrific.
You said I couldn't come unless I brought people.
There we are. There we are. You got the whole family, which is cool. Gerry, Damo, whoever wants to start. I mean, obviously our New Year's Eve were somewhat ruined, hopefully not completely, by the football team. They're not going to win the East. If Dallas wins next week, we can get every scenario you want. Not going to be the 1 seed. 15-point halftime lead against the Cardinals, who dominated the entire game on the line of scrimmage. What happened? I don't know what else to ask them. What happened, Damo?
Same thing that's happened a lot lately. I mean, they've been outscored in the second half. The last 3 games, I think, like 60 to, I want to say 28 or something.
But
I mean,
the domination, the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, they have an awful defense. I mean, there's no, you can quibble about some of the things they have done offensively, but that defense is just.
I can't say anything mean. I'll just say soft.
Very soft.
It can be. And listen to
Charmin soft.
Very soft.
The line, though, I mean, you got obviously Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Hassan Reddick, but the guys who are pedigree players who do have mojo in the league and with the fans, they aren't doing anything either. I mean, the back seven is the back seven, and we can yell at Howie for unprioritizing it all we like, but you got to do a better job. I hate to be Andy Reid, but right, Gerry?
Well, the defense that they play, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, the middle is so soft, and they have no linebackers.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, I watched the game. I saw the poor kid get in that, I don't even know his name. I think they just signed him. They stuck him in there, and he didn't know what he was doing. He was looking left. Number 57.
Yeah,
he was looking left. He was looking right. I mean, they were trying to help him out, but, I mean, you can't play professional football with a player that doesn't know what he's doing. And you can't play at that level where you want to go to a Super Bowl and have that, softness in the middle.
Whose fault is Ben? Ben Van Summer's a nice kid. Hopefully he can be a decent player down the road. But like Gerry said, he should not be seeing major minutes, barring injuries and depth issues, for an NFL team on the brink of a playoff situation. Do you blame Howie? Do you blame the coaching staff? The lack of prioritization at linebacker, you've been around this game a long time. It still shocks me. It's been that way for a long time. Haven't drafted number 1 linebacker since Jerry Robinson, who we had on the show, 1979. What is it with the Eagles and linebackers?
Well, I mean, they had 2 really good ones last year. I mean, T.J. Edwards and Kazir White played very well. They were free agents, and they didn't sign for terribly a lot of money with the teams they went to. But excuse me. But the Eagles just don't value linebackers very much. And then the people they had got hurt, and Kobe Dean, who they had high hopes for, is out probably for, I don't think he's going to be back.
No. Will they next year? Will this change things, or will this just be another chapter in we forgot to draft and sign linebackers, and we'll try to do a better job next year, like every coach says at every joke press conference that we're both at?
Well, they haven't forgotten. I mean, you remember Davion Taylor,
yeah.
3rd-round pick about 2020.
Colorado. Yep.
They got overcome by the fact that he could run a 4.4 40. And just ignored the fact that he had no idea how to play football. He didn't play high school ball. He just
ran a 4.4 40 though, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people get impressed by those stats: height, weight, speed, strength, all that. But you still got to be a football player.
Yeah.
And even as soft as the defenses have gotten in the league, you still have to be able to hit somebody. And that's you want to know what the Eagles' problem is. They're soft.
Oh, yeah.
They're not aggressive. The aggressive teams win. The game that stood out, to me exceptionally was the 49ers game.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles running backs come through the line, and their defensive backs were coming up and hammering them.
Yeah.
And I watched that, and then versus. I hear the Eagles defensive backs talking about, well, it's a business decision.
Mm-hmm. With Dion line,
on
right?
whether,
Yeah,
whether they're going to make the tackle, or be physical.
Yeah.
And if that's your, the mindset you have, on your defense, that is not going to win.
You talk about business decisions, Gerry. You played for a CEO named Buddy Ryan back in the day, who didn't make many business decisions that involved not making the hit and whatever. I mean, he's known for his aggressiveness. We'll talk about the practice. We've had Dick Vermeil on about back in the day, the hitting, the practice, the attention to detail. Ask Tomo about that as well. But if this Eagles team played under Buddy Ryan with you, what kind of rude awakening would they get both in practice and in games?
Oh. Well, when Buddy first got there, he tried to run everybody off. I mean, he, basically, 3 days in the heat and running and everything, and he just wanted to see which guys would stick. And Vermeil was pretty much the same way back in his day when he took over. And it's not the same. I mean, you're asking me. I can't compare what I went through compared to these guys because I've been to their practices, and it's almost like they might as well just have lounge chairs out there because there's really not much going on as far as physicality, and so and as a fan, they want to see physicalness too in the game. I think. Just all offense and fluff is going to be the demise of the league eventually, I think.
Well, Damo, we talked about this on WIP a lot at the beginning of the year. Everybody wants offense. It's an offensive game. Give me a team that can score 30 points and a representative defense, blah, 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 blah. That theory is having holes poked all through it right now. People say you don't need a good defense. I don't care what sport you're playing. You need a good defense to go along with a good offense. Nothing is one-dimensional, never mind injuries and everything else that can break the glass of whatever philosophy you have. How do you go into a season with this defense? It's hard to believe. Howie was being lauded, and I plead guilty, 100% guilty, to buying into this at the beginning of the year, but I've realized how silly I am now. What the hell happened?
Well, I mean, if you look at a team like Kansas City before this year, I mean, they actually have a really good defense this year. But for several years there, after Mahomes was drafted, it was a team that wasn't very good defensively, but they were so powerful offensively, they were just outscoring people. And to a degree, last year, I mean, they had a better defense than they have this year. But the Eagles last year would jump to leads. First half, they had the highest point differential in the league. Second half, your defensive linemen are just teeing off on the quarterback. They don't have to worry about the run. This year, that's not been the case. The offense has been a slow starting offense. Games have gone into the second half and have been close. And teams have been, and the defense has been exposed for what it is, which is really, really bad.
All right, Gerry, we don't know each other. We've never met each other before tonight. Thank you for being a guest on our show the first time, and we'd love to have you. So a little more transparency, asking questions to somebody you have no relationship with. I'm just going to mention a name, and just give me stream of consciousness on whatever you want. Nick Sirianni.
Oh, geez. I got to give him credit. You know, he took the team to the Super Bowl last year. He's done well in his 3 years. His antics on the sideline sometimes I don't agree with. Again, saying stuff to opposing teams' fans. It comes back to haunt you. I do not agree with that as a head coach.
How about David Tepper's innings this weekend? You see that?
I did not.
He owns the Carolina Panthers.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I did see that. It's a disgrace. You got to hold your composure.
Yeah. But back to Nick. Go ahead.
But Nick, their team has done well. What's the big difference? He's got 2 new coordinators this year.
3.
You
just
that's true.
He replaced one of them.
His third one. But yeah, they have 2 new coordinators, and it's always an adjustment. And I said that to my son when we were talking before. I said, the Eagles, no matter what, there's going to be an adjustment period because they're 2 totally new guys that they're working with, and it just doesn't turn over that way. In football, in business, you bring in a new CEO or whatever, it takes time to for those things to move in the right direction. And right now, you saw they replaced the defensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator is getting ripped, and but it it didn't happen with the other guys because he was a new coach, and they all got a grace period for that first 2 years. But they went to the Super Bowl, and they were supposed to go to the Super Bowl this year, and so those new coordinators are not getting it. They got no grace period whatsoever.
Domo, everything Gerry said I agree with, and you know me for this. I say it all the time. On WIP. I regard people, I judge people by what you do the first time you have that iceberg sail in front of you like the Titanic had it. Anybody can sail in calm seas. If you can't do your job with nothing going on, why are you there? But when that iceberg appears, that's your first test. Nick Sirianni, as you can say, had the iceberg appear, obviously, the last few weeks. His first major adversity, forget year 1 where he was expected to do nothing. Last year was a golden year until 9 seconds remained in the Super Bowl. Now the iceberg's appeared, and to me, he's not looking very good. Talk about that if you could.
Yeah, this isn't his finest moment.
No.
Needs a bigger ice pick.
Yeah. Does he survive? I think he survives, but a lot of people in this passionate town are quickly moving him into the grave, I think prematurely. But
it doesn't help that, you're seeing a lot of, it's clear that A.J. Brown is not in his corner right now. I think it's the case with a lot of players. He got into a sideline thing with Hassan Reddick a couple weeks back. So that's, he claims that's him, and he's going to do that with everybody, his family, his players, his coaches. But that doesn't fly when you're losing. It flies when you're winning. You can get away with it. But
it's interpreted by too many people in too many different ways, and it does not, bode well for the team. The owner sees it, and he's thinking one thing. The fan on the 50-yard line sees it. He's thinking another thing, and and the radio shows see it, and they're talking about 500 different things.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Speaking of the radio shows, we're doing one here. We got a break. Jerry's wearing a cap. Kansas City and the Eagles, he played for both those teams. They met in the Super Bowl last year. Both those teams, Damo, have something called a locker room that people are talking about. Nick Sirianni, has you lost the locker room? Damo and I have been in locker rooms pretty much our whole life. Most people haven't. Jerry spent his life in the locker rooms here in Philadelphia. We'll talk about what happens when a coach loses a locker room and what it takes for a coach to lose a locker room. We're here at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Tuesday edition follows this. Thanks.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
Pests are a year-round problem, but it only seems to elevate in the fall. Thankfully, termite proofing and pest control can help you out. TPPC will help you get rid of household pests like spiders, bed bugs, roaches, and mice. TPPC only uses EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call them today at 215-639-5455. Again, that number, 215-639-5455 for termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley.
Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard, is a great place to shop and eat with the following businesses ready to serve you: the AutoZone, PA Wine and Spirits, CVS Pharmacy, the Hair Cuttery, Nationwide Insurance, Liberty Auto Tags, Smile Culture Dental, the First National Bank and Trust Company of Newtown, Lee's Hoagie House, and Pat Dion Beverages.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, Tuesday edition. Happy New Year, everybody, live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Don't forget you can watch the show live at WBCBSports.com and search live by searching WBCB Sports on YouTube Live, that is. Jerry brought some family here. His nephew Ryan played at St. Joe Prep, who last lost a game to a Philadelphia school in 1873. I think not really off that far, but Jerry, you played with some successful Eagle teams, some teams transitioning in the 80s. When somebody says a coach is losing a locker room, which Nick may or may not be, I think Damo said A.J. Brown looks like he's teetering right now. A couple other guys maybe. Brandon Graham says they're not. A lot of guys say they're not. You want a team to stick together. I've been in a lot of locker rooms, so has Damo. For those who haven't, what is a fractured locker room like, and do you think it's happening here?
Well, number one, you're right as far as saying you have to be in a locker room to even answer that question.
And we're not as a player, obviously. You
right.
were.
But you, I mean, people say, oh, this, that, and the other thing. But if you're not in there and actually hear and see the things going on, you can't really even speak on it. But, yeah, I mean, there's teams back in the day, you know, we talked about when Marion Campbell was there. He took over for, you know, a legend, you know, in Philadelphia, Dick Vermeil, and, you know, was graced with an old team, and you know, he had to try and rebuild that. It was very tough, and you know, he struggled with his loyalty, you know, to older guys, and you know, that kind of caused a friction as far as, you know, some of the better younger guys that, you know, needed to be on the field, and you could actually see that. And it's, you know, this Eagles team is loaded now, and like I said, I can't really speak to it because I'm not in their locker room, but you know, you can see things, you know, like with A.J. Brown not speaking. You can see, you know, the funny thing is, I actually saw Jalen Hurts off the bench at the end of the game yesterday, cheering, the defense on or whatever, instead of in his, you know, position there where he looks like he just wants to be left alone. And you know, there's lots of things like that you know, even your teammates read into, like what's going on, you know, in his mind. And you know, like I said, I don't want to, you know, say anything because I'm not part of it, but there's so many little things that get misread by everybody on the outside that only the people on the inside can answer, and the people on the inside won't answer. So, or they won't give you the true answer.
What's your gut, Tom, on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's lost the locker room. I mean, there's just so much frustration right now in that locker room because of the way they're playing. I think it's more that than any condemnation by players of the coach right now. They're all trying to figure out how this happened, and because I mean you could see even when they were 10-1 that they had flaws, and you knew they would. When they started playing better teams, those flaws would kind of come through, and they did. Against San Francisco, even when in games they won against the Bills, missed tackles. Yesterday they tied their season high for missed tackles. Gerry was talking about. These guys don't practice tackling anymore.
14 padded practices a year. By the CBA.
But I mean, other teams are in the same situation and tackle much better than this unit's been they've been tackling the last couple games. I mean, you're seeing guys now, just tackling high, going through the wrong gaps. I mean, they made a mistake when they replaced Sean Desai. I'm not a big fan of Matt Patricia's. I don't think they just needed a scapegoat then, and I don't. It probably, if I had to guess, came from upstairs rather than from Nick. But yesterday you're watching them play these. I mean, Matt Patricia's playing Hassan Reddick I think 7-8 times. They had him dropping in coverage.
Yeah.
That's not what he's.
No.
He's one of the best.
That's why they got rid of him in
Arizona.
That's the thing with scheming players. There are schemes in which plenty of them, which outside backers drop into pass coverage, but you have to have an outside backer that can do that, is good at it. I'm not saying Hassan Reddick can't do it, but that's not his DNA. That's not his bullseye. How much of coaching, Damo, is knowing your players and sculpting your scheme around players rather than sculpting your players around schemes like Luke's been doing here too much recently?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's been like since I haven't been down there every day this year. I have no idea what the relationship's been like between Matt Patricia and Sean Desai. They got Desai. I mean, Sean Desai was a disciple of Vic Fangio.
Yep.
Vic Fangio was here last year when he was in between jobs. Spent most of the year here as kind of an unofficial advisor. Yeah, so they knew what they were getting in Sean, and now suddenly it's like, we don't really like this defense. Well, maybe it's not that you just don't like the defense. Maybe you don't have very good players that are able to play it.
All right, as Guy the chef walks by here, the chef of the offense, Gerry, is Brian Johnson, who has known Jalen Hurts since he was 4 years old. The Eagles got ripped for being very conservative after the onside kick in the fourth quarter, which I thought was a pretty good move by Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon's a whole different story here, but the conservativeness of the offense, closing up on it, with the Cardinals dominating the line of scrimmage the whole game. 1st and 20, Jalen Hurts runs. 2nd 20, same thing, or 2nd 16, whatever it was. A bubble screen on 3rd down. Do you find like the conservatism, when you say go, they say stop. When you say stop, they say go. As a fan, how do you see it?
It's very frustrating. I mean, as an offensive lineman, obviously, we always want to run the ball. The Eagles, have great offensive linemen. Are they a great offensive line? I don't know, because they never let them play the full game as far as attacking with the run game and the pass.
Cardinals sure did, 200-some yards.
Yeah, and the Cardinals had the worst run defense in the whole league, and they still wouldn't run the ball. I mean, you got Swift, give him the ball, and be more creative giving him the ball. They are just so bland, in their, handoffs, etc. Do some things that the Eagles don't run much motion at all. I mean, run some motion, get some things going where you can actually get the running game a little extra push other than what he gives you. Because once he gets going, you see he can run the ball when they give him a chance, and they're just not doing it. And obviously, if you have that running game going, Jalen Hurts is going to have a better time passing the ball because they're not going to be, in his face all day.
Yeah.
All right, let's get a little bit positive. Obviously, we could mope in our sorrow the entire time, but other than the fact that the Cardinals punter was reported missing Sunday, and the FBI is looking for him since he didn't punt. Tom, Michael Clay got ripped last year for doing a terrible job. The Eagles' third coordinator, special teams. We were down there when they had a coordinator by the name of John Harbaugh. You might have heard of what he's doing about now. Michael Clay has got these units in gear. They got to get a lot of young kids, which are key to any special teams. Young, aggressive kids. Pro Bowl punt returner, possibly in Covey. Obviously, Elliott, a Pro Bowl kicker. The special teams have been fantastic this year.
People are turning off their radios right now.
Well, got to be positive a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're right. The special teams have been very good. I mean, Britton Covey's, I think last week was, I looked at the numbers, he's the second-ranked punt returner in the league, average-wise. The punter they picked up is just the same.
Good.
Yeah,
he's been great.
Yeah.
He's just amazing. I mean,
out of nowhere, and holding too.
Every kick is 50-plus yards.
Yep.
But I mean, most importantly is the special teams are playing better. I mean, they're not. Last year, you wondered, did they practice at all during the season? And see these gaps, and so yeah. I mean, they've been very good. It's just a shame it's going to get wasted, but. It's nice at least that they've got that part of their game secure right now. One
other positive thing, actually, we'll mention the running game. DeAndre Swift had a potential roadblock in his life. He went to St. Joe Prep, which doesn't look like it's held him back very hard. But on the good note, Dama, with the Hall of Fame voting's coming up, and the 15 finalists were just named, and one guy's been there 5 times. I'm one of these people. I am very tough on Hall of Fames. Brutally tough. I don't think very many people should get in. People scream at me all the time. I don't care. But when I think a guy should be in the Hall of Fame and he's not, it's unusual, put it that way. And Eric Allen is one of them. 54 picks, blah, blah, blah. Our buddy Jerry Evans from Bloomsburg, played with the Saints, also a finalist. Is this the year Eric Allen gets in? And how do you, as a Hall of Fame voter, move the other guys in your committee with your intellect and speech prowess to get Eric Allen in?
Yeah, I mean, I hope this is his year. It's the first time he's made it to the final 15. He's been a semifinalist, final 25 for the last 4 years. I mean, you're right. He belonged in a long time ago. I've seen, he's basically been victimized by a couple things. One, he never won a Super Bowl, and there's a lot of the selectors are kind of over enamored by the fact that the guys won a Super Bowl. I mean, you look at teams like Tampa Bay, the 2002 team. That defense was not half as good as the Gang Green, the Eagle teams with Seth and Reggie and Clyde and all those teams.
He's also not loud on a team with a lot of loud, tremendous defensive players. He never was controversial. He kind of got lost in the shuffle, didn't he?
No, he was very professional, did his job.
Yeah. I mean, I think what might help this year, it's helped get him into the final 15, is I talked to Troy Aikman about him. I went and, because Troy played against him twice a year for several years. And Troy said, this is easy. I mean, he should be in, next to, he played with Dion and played against Dion. He said, aside from him, I can't, he's the best corner that he played. He said the 2 best corners that he played against were Eric Allen and Aeneas Williams from the Cardinals. Aeneas Williams got in 2004.
And he played against Rod Woodson, other all-time greats, Yeah,
the other thing that's hurt him is they also seem to be enamored with the team of the decade. And he was like the 5th cornerback in a year when they picked 4. And all 4 of them, we're talking Dion, the guy from Washington, Darryl Green, 2 others that either got in on the first ballot, second year.
Williams, one of them.
That should not be held against him because he was the 5th.
Were you good enough? Were you not? There's 4 other guys that were good enough too. So what? If there's nobody good enough.
So I'm just explaining to you. I think one thing that's helped. There are now players and GMs and stuff that are in that room, and so that adds a better mix to the selection committee. So I'm hopeful. You're only a modern era candidate for 20 years, so he's got this year and 2 more to make it, or he goes into the veteran pool, and sometimes you're in that veteran pool, you disappear, and you just, so it would, you know, Sam Mills made it in his 20th year on the ballot. So I'm hopeful. I mean, right now, you know, I talk to a lot of guys. They tell me they're voting for him. You know, work meeting in mid-January in Atlanta. You know, we sit in a room for about 8 hours and discuss the 15 candidates, plus the, you know, other guys that are, you know, the veterans and other guys that are up. And, I mean, it's as thorough a process as there is. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully Eric Allen gets in. We'll be waiting for that when it runs through. When we come back, Gerry Feehery is a very interesting guest, folks. He's a local. He's a Delco guy. He's also one of the 7 original plaintiffs in the original concussion lawsuit against the NFL. There's not one person in this country who's on the other side of it, except for the lawyers on the other side. The suit hasn't been settled yet. Maybe never will. Who knows? The way the legal system gets mucked up these days. We'll talk about Gerry about that, as well as what the Eagles need to do this weekend, the playoffs, the seeding scenarios. This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Great food, great guests, great fun. We'll have more of it right after this, folks. Stay with us.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
Pests are a year-round problem, but it only seems to elevate in the fall. Thankfully, termite proofing and pest control can help you out. TPPC will help you get rid of household pests like spiders, bed bugs, roaches, and mice. TPPC only uses EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call them today at 215-639-5455. Again, that number, 215-639-5455 for termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley.
Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard, is a great place to shop and eat with the following businesses ready to serve you: the AutoZone, PA Wine and Spirits, CVS Pharmacy, the Hair Cuttery, Nationwide Insurance, Liberty Auto Tags, Smile Culture Dental, the First National Bank and Trust Company of Newtown, Lee's Hoagie House, and Pat Dion Beverages.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
So it was a good time.
All righty, back here at the Great American Pub with Paul Domowitch and Gerry Feehery, and a nice crowd on a Tuesday night. People getting their celebration gears kind of redone after last night and New Year's Eve, and Eagles are going to get their gears redone and hopefully be there with a Giants Sunday game that might mean something, it may not. We'll get into that in a second. Gerry, you played a tough position for 6 years in this league.
Seven,
excuse me.
My last year was with the Patriots.
With the Patriots. You played with a center named Mike Webster with the Kansas City Chiefs, who was the center on the Steel Curtain, Hall of Famer. And his death, he died in a car by himself, living on the street. Clearly had CTE, obviously. You remember the movie with Will Smith about it. But you were one of the original plaintiffs on something that was, I got my bell rung during the day, which Jaworski used to say all the time, to something now that's clearly more sinister medically. You can't tell CTE until somebody dies. That'll improve, obviously, at some point. But I read somewhere during the preparation for this that you talked about your job a few years ago, and you said you hadn't advanced beyond there in your job, beyond the level that you were at, because you didn't have a memory and then the cognitive skills, and it was affecting your life. So talk about the suit, your life, anything you like about it. Time's yours, as Andy would say.
Yeah, I wish I would be talking about something else other than that, but initially when it was filed, and you go through all the testing that had to be done, and see the doctors, and you have a lawyer that's pulling it all together, and unfortunately, initially. When all my paperwork was entered or whatever, one of the doctors was disqualified. And so all that did was put you into a big bubble that you couldn't get out of. And it took, it's taken forever. And now I'm working with actually a guy that played at Syracuse. He's younger than me, but he's a lawyer. And Bart Oates is actually is a lawyer at his law firm.
From the Giants?
Bart's with the NFL alumni, right?
Not anymore.
Oh, no?
He was till last year, and now
Bart's a lawyer now?
Oh, he's always been a lawyer.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, and so he works with him, and so I'm working with him and the fellow. His wife is a partner too, and. Trying to get everything straightened out. He feels good about it, but the problem is once that happens, you get turned down by that. I mean, it gets you can't even get your records back. I mean, everything, wow. And I want to see what you try to ask what happened, what was going on, why was this guy disqualified. Everything's redacted. You can't even get an answer about your own case. And I've talked to so many guys that said they're just tired of even trying to do it because of, being turned down left and right. And it's hopefully, this time around, taking a different approach, it'll work out. But I have not really even, the guys that I've talked to, I have not heard anybody that had gotten a settlement from it.
It's been, one of the biggest disgraces in the history of the National Football League was the fact that, they knew that brain trauma was being caused by concussions. You would have to be, but they didn't, they didn't want to screw up their game. They were willing to sacrifice these guys for, to do it and just keep ignoring it and keep pushing it off. And
for people who think sacrifice is too strong a word, Gerry obviously played with Andre Waters, who committed suicide, good buddy of mine, beyond a shame, obviously.
Yeah, it was, Andre was, my teammate, and not just him, but Junior Seau. There was numerous guys. The guy from the Bears, I can't think of his name.
Dave
Dorson.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's countless other guys that have tried and maybe it didn't work out.
Are you more, Gerry? Are you more interested in getting money from this, or getting the recognition that football causes injuries, and to do the best they can? It's a violent game, obviously. They can't eliminate this, but to do the best they can to keep you as safe as you can, give you a few bucks, both?
Well, I think, it's cost guys a lot of money in career, afterwards, as far as doing things. You mentioned, a career. I, worked in a business, running nursing homes for a guy, for a company. And after a while, I was turning reports, and, that I'd done for 15 years, and the guys couldn't understand what I was turning in. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he went over and showed me, and stuff that I'd been doing basically, the same thing for for that period of time. Now I couldn't even figure out how to do it anymore, and so it was either they were going to fire me or they ended up putting me on a disability because of it. But when your capabilities are limited, there should be some type of financial compensation, but the other thing is to continue to make the game safer, and I don't want the game to just go away and become two-hand touch. But they got to work on. The helmet technology. I think that's the biggest thing. Is create, and there has to be a way to create safety nets that way. And of course, the hitting. As we've seen in the tackling and everything, it's changed. But the difference. You talk about offense. Big offense. People get excited. Yeah. Nobody gets more excited than on a big hit, though. And they have to figure out how to balance that. Where maybe it's not, the hit isn't as big, but it still has to be some big hits in the game for people to be excited.
Now you're only 63. Yeah. Do you worry about quality of life going forward?
Well,
or do you just take it day by day?
Day by day, and my body feels like it got hit by a bus. So it's not just my head; it's everything else. That once my feet, seriously, once my feet hit the floor in the morning, I can tell whether it's going to be a good day or not by the amount of pain that shoots through the rest of my body. But
who's the best, the toughest guy? Obviously, you played against Reggie. Played with him too. Who's the toughest guy you ever played against? One guy that used to keep you up at night worrying, oh my God, you were center guard, had to go up against blank tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, I'll say the hardest hit I ever took was by Mike Singletary. He knocked me out. I stayed in the game. He knocked me out. And
unconscious.
Unconscious.
You stayed in the game?
Stayed in the game, went into the Bears huddle. And, people on the Eagles had to come get me out of the Bears huddle to come back. But he, people asked me that, and I said I had to. When you have to practice against Reggie and Jerome Brown every day, when you play in the game, there wasn't many guys that were ever going to give you as much trouble because those guys were the best. Yeah. And but there was great guys. You played the Giants. The Giants were stacked back then with Taylor and Banks, Carson, Jim Burt. Buddy Ryan when we would play. Buddy would always say the two worst bodies in football are playing against each other, meaning Burt and me. And Burt gets upset when I tell him that, but he thinks he was a physical specimen, but he was more like a fire extinguisher or a
fire hydrant.
I still remember that game. It might have been '85. Remember, of course, you remember Kevin Allen when they drafted it in the first round.
Oh yeah.
Holds out, finally comes in. They throw him out there at left tackle against the Giants and Lawrence Taylor. And, he just ate him up and destroyed poor Ron Jaworski, who was...
scary.
Yeah.
Funniest thing, we got to take a break here, but the funniest thing I've ever heard about the NFL, Jerry, you remember Mick Tingelhoff?
Oh, yeah.
Center with the Vikings. Somebody, I think they were saying, some defensive player was on some show someday one time and said Vikings had like a 2nd and 2 on whatever yard line and 8 minutes left in the first quarter, totally non-whatever time, and the Vikings called timeout. And against the Bears. And they said, they came to the sidelines. Bud Grant said, what the hell happened? Who called timeout? The guy said, Tingelhoff called timeout. He goes, what the hell Tingelhoff called timeout for? He goes, because Butkus was staring at him. He was scared to death. Said he couldn't even play right now. That's the look, the kind of Singletary Butkus look that you got. We'll come back. We're having fun here. We'll hopefully have some fun this week with the playoffs. We'll talk about the possibilities from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Mike Quick is our guest next Monday night. And come on back and see us. We'll be back with Gerry Feehery and Paul Domowitch. First show of the new year right after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
Pests are a year-round problem, but it only seems to elevate in the fall. Thankfully, termite proofing and pest control can help you out. TPPC will help you get rid of household pests like spiders, bed bugs, roaches, and mice. TPPC only uses EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call them today at 215-639-5455. Again, that number, 215-639-5455 for termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley.
Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard, is a great place to shop and eat with the following businesses ready to serve you: the AutoZone, PA Wine and Spirits, CVS Pharmacy, the Hair Cuttery, Nationwide Insurance, Liberty Auto Tags, Smile Culture Dental, the First National Bank and Trust Company of Newtown, Lee's Hoagie House, and Pat Dion Beverages.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
Ron, if you're out there.
All right, we are back here at the Great American Pub, final segment of our first show of the year. Hopefully many, many more. Hopefully many, many more this year. Because it can happen that the Eagles can turn it around. It's going to require a lot. Schematically, talent-wise, players playing to their level, Jalen Hurts being the scrambler that he can be, and many other things. The coaching staff's got to get locked in. But it's happened before, Damo. Teams are going into the playoffs or come near playoff, week 18, looking lost, found themselves, or looking found and lost themselves. What do the Eagles have to do this week? They play the Giants. Obviously, if the Cowboys win, the game means nothing. Eagles are locked into a 5 seed at worst. And the game started at the same time, 4:25. So Nick can't bench his regulars. And then if the Cowboys, get upset, you look foolish. What has to happen this week? What would you do? What's Nick's goal this week, other than to win the game?
Not to get anybody hurt, anybody else hurt. Part of the problem is even if they could rest people this week, even if they knew, that it wouldn't matter, this is a team that's been reeling, and they need to kind of go into the playoffs with some confidence, and you hope they get it in this game. So, they need to play well, at least some portions of it. I don't think that, I'm not so sure the defense is going to redeem itself, but Jalen played well last week, just didn't end up mattering.
All right, Tommy Cutlets may or may not be with the Giants. A quarterback, obviously a second game, played him a couple weeks ago. We know the division game. But basically, this game means nothing. You go up to New York, you don't want to get guys hurt. Eagles have been in this position several years before, went to Super Bowls, got beaten first rounds. How do you handle this? It's the old rest versus rust for an NFL coach. Do you want a rusty team or do you want a rested team? How would you handle it if you were coaching this football team?
Well, I think the coach has to explain, definitely before they are getting into the game, that this is my plan for this game. this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And you're in a slump going in, which changes the equation. Yeah.
He's going to say, we're going to play the first quarter. You guys are going to go out. We're going to execute. We're going to try to do the best we can. We're really going to try to score a lot of points. I think you try to go all out, and blow out any dust that you have in there. But throw the ball deep. They're not going to have Smith, but. You still gotta find a way to stretch the field because they're not doing it anymore. But defensively, we got to shut them out. Then we'll get the other guys into play.
What about the young corners, guys? If I can interrupt for a second, Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks, Josh Jobe, Damo. These guys are obviously going to be the heart of the defense next year. Do you bench a Bradbury for the final game and maybe the playoffs to look at the young kids and then take a shot at looking at them? And obviously there's a negative, a risk versus reward.
I'm not so sure they're going to be the heart of the defense next year.
The heart of the secondary.
Well,
you think they're going to draft completely new? They could.
Free agency. I mean,
they
don't. Right now, you see some flashes sometimes from Ringo. Ricks, I'm not sure of at all. They've got so many people that the jury is out on. I mean, they're going to have to completely redo that entire defense. They got so many people that first of all, you're getting rid of all the old people.
Well, what about Josh Sweat, a guy who's had a pretty decent year?
Well, yeah.
But really, he's not going anywhere. But I get worried about when a guy's name means more than his game. I don't care what your name is. Your name can be Reggie White, but if you play like Reggie Patrick, I don't care. Josh Sweat has absolutely done nothing the last bunch of weeks, as has the entire defensive line. You're obviously not going to prioritize the line in the draft or free agency, but how worried are you about the whatever has happened to the defensive line?
I really would like to see them put Carter out on the outside and give him a chance out there. And he's all about quickness, hand abilities, and I think he's a good player, but he hasn't been able to get off blocks on the inside. I think if he has that quickness on the outside, he might be a player for the future.
I mean, they did that with Cox. When they played a 3-4 back in the early 2010s. So.
All right, real quick, Fletcher Cox, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, Hall of Fame candidate? Not. Is he Hall of the very good? What do you think?
I think he's a Hall of very good. Maybe I'll change my mind. Don't mean, I love Fletcher. He's been a great player for them. I just, when you look at the people that are in the Hall of Fame, is he at that level? I don't know. That's something I'll consider in 5 years.
All right, a couple more questions, Gerry Feehery and Paul Domowitch. When you look around the NFL, Lamar Jackson looks like he's wrapped up the MVP. A really interesting situation in Cleveland, which is much closer to my wife Amy, who's here's heart. Joe Flacco, a guy, I went to school with Steve Flacco, Joe's dad. I've known Joe since he was born, so a huge Joe Flacco fan. Kevin Stefanski went to Penn, so I'm a huge Kevin Stefanski fan. Damo, were the Browns a paper tiger, or can they actually make some noise through this whole thing with Joe Flacco replacing Deshaun Watson? Where do you see the Browns going? There's a couple of intriguing teams. There's certainly one of them.
Absolutely.
With that defense.
I like them.
Yeah. You think they got a shot at going to the Super Bowl, Jerry?
I do. I mean, their defense is playing, balls to the wall, and and Flacco, he's rejuvenated himself. And he's got those young guys believing in him.
And Lamar has not played well in the playoffs, Tom. He's under a lot of pressure in Baltimore for John Harbaugh.
Yeah, but I mean, he's done a spectacular job with the new offensive coordinator there. Yeah. They're taking advantage of things that I think with his game that they didn't with the previous offensive coordinator. So I think but he does have to prove himself in the playoffs. He has not yet done that.
All right, one more question about Pete Best. You guys think, why is Jolly asking about Pete Best? Or who's Pete Best? Pete Best was the drummer of the Beatles, who was the original drummer, did a couple things wrong, apparently a couple times, and got replaced by a guy named Ringo Starr, and the rest is history. Zach Ertz was let go by the Cardinals midway through this year. He asked for his release. It seems to be the question he probably shouldn't have asked right now, because he's getting an answer he didn't want to hear, Damo. Mark Andrews may come back in Baltimore, although likely he's playing great there. Eagles aren't going to sign him. Did Zach Ertz overshoot this? It seems like to me he did. He's a great guy, but Anybody going after Zach Ertz?
Not that I've heard, Jolly. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing we saw with Shaq Leonard. I mean, there seemed to be everybody was talking about the market for him, and then we see him play. I mean, Zach Ertz, again, another guy that I enjoyed covering.
Yep, good guy.
But I think he's at the end, and I don't know, there's not a lot of interest in him.
All right, Jerry, one thing that you hope in this 2024 happens football-wise is?
Football-wise?
Or life, whatever you want.
Well,
that's a big spectrum.
Yeah.
I can't.
How far are the Eagles going?
They may get to the second round of the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to go any further than that.
Yeah. Hopefully they're going to play the NFC South, which has to send somebody. Dom, we're going to be here with Mike Quick next week looking at the playoffs. We're going to be optimistic or pessimistic. They win this game by 80, and people are still going to say, well, beat a good team and then wake me up. Yeah. So the Eagles, to me, are going to have to wake up during the playoffs, not this week.
Yeah, I mean, they've beaten some good teams during the year. It's just that things kind of fell apart. I mean, they're capable of beating, they're going to end up playing an NFC South team. I think they're capable of beating them all, but they're also capable of losing to every one of them.
That's the Eagles this year, yeah.
I think the worst matchup for them would be a rematch with Tampa Bay, because I think Baker Mayfield has found his stride right now, and this pass defense could get riddled.
Well, we know this year is about winning the Super Bowl, not getting there, winning. Jerry was in Arizona last year, obviously saw what happened along with the rest of us. Jerry, you got the final word tonight. What is it?
Well, as soon as the Eagles realize that this team is not last year's team, it's a different team, it's totally different, and they have to solve this year's problems. Don't look back on what was and what happened. I mean, they just have to realize this is where we're at, and now how do we fix it and go and do it? But I mean, each year it's a different team. Fans seem to lock in and say, okay, this is a Super Bowl team or whatever. Well, it's a different year, it's a different team, different set of problems. Yeah. You got to, now you're at the end of the year, you're in the playoffs. Now you got to figure out how you're going to get it done.
That's why you got to seize the moment when it's
Carpe diem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eagles, time's yours, as Andy Reid would say. Well, fun show, guys. Thanks. Not a lot of fun in Philly now, but hopefully start of the playoffs, this can be the team that woke up, and who knows what kind of run they make. Damo, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Hope you have a great year, Jerry. To your family, to yourself, happy, healthy, and safe New Year.
Same to you guys. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. To our wives, Amy and Shelley, who put up with us every week, thank you so much, and happy New Year to both of you. Gus Barber produced this fine show. Stephen Lawler back at the station. Mike Quick is our guest next week here. Thank you, Caroline, who walks by our waitress tonight. Did a great job from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. This has been the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Go Eagles, Giants this week, and another show next week. Hopefully we'll be here through the beginning of February. Until then, have a great night, everybody. Go Eagles, and Happy New Year.
Go.